Finally, let's look at the strategic process composed of deliberate and emergent actions. Strategies are not always developed through pure types of strategic processes, purely deliberate processes, or purely emergent processes. In fact, on many occasions, strategies are formed from processes composed of deliberate and emergent actions. Thus, for example, a strategy may initially arise emergently as a consequence of top-down, bottom-up, or democratic-type emergent actions, and then develop further in a deliberate way. In this figure, you can see an example of this strategic process, which is a process that is developed initially in an emergent way and later deliberately. This figure is made up of two quadrants. The upper quadrant represents the deliberate actions that are developed in a strategic process, and the lower quadrant represents the emergent actions that are developed in said process. In the example of this figure, everything begins with the emergence of an unexpected event in the environment, as indicated by the red arrow. Senior managers, who did not anticipate this event, analyze it and formulate a strategy to respond to said event. This strategy would be the emergent strategy. Top managers, along with strategic planners, prepare a program to implement this strategy deliberately. So this strategy goes from being an emergent strategy to being a planned strategy. Finally, top managers and affected personnel carry out the implementation of this strategy. And these managers and the strategic planners carry out a control or monitoring of said implementation. Finally, as a result of the strategic process described, the realized strategy is obtained. Other examples of strategic processes composed of deliberate and emergent actions can be a strategy that is formed as a consequence of the development of a strategic process that contains, among others, sequences of actions that arise emergently and continue to develop deliberately. Or a strategy that is formed as a consequence of the development of a stream of deliberate and emergent actions that is partially or totally motivated and/or framed by broad guidelines for action of the company's top managers. These guidelines for action may include strategic visions, personal interests, assumptions and beliefs, general criteria, etc. of the company's top managers. In this figure, we can see an example of a strategic process that is made up of three sequences of actions that arise in an emergent way and continue to develop deliberately, all of them being framed within a personal interest of the company's top manager. The first sequence of actions is made up of actions 1 and 2. The second sequence of actions is made up of actions 3 and 4, and the third and last sequence of actions is made up of actions 5 and 6. As can be seen in this figure, each of these sequences of actions arises from an unexpected event. The top manager analyzes each one of these events and makes a decision to respond to each one of them. The top manager, together with the company's staff, deliberately implement the decisions made earlier. These three sequences of actions are framed within a personal interest of the company's top manager, or, in other words, are aligned or consistent with that interest of the company's top manager. As a consequence of the development of this stream of actions, a pattern of behavior is formed that constitutes the strategy finally realized in the company. A singular case of this last type of strategic process is observed in companies immersed in complex and dynamic environments, in which the top managers are aware that new strategic learning and new business opportunities may arise as a consequence of promoting the development of courses of action on novel topics, deploying streams of actions that do not quite know where they are going. Within this type of strategic process would be the casuistry of launching low-risk experiments to the market in order to maximize the organization's strategic learning regarding the viability and detailed form of possible new strategies. Or a strategy can initially be generated deliberately and thereafter developed further in an emergent manner, etc. Finally, we are going to see the context in which strategic processes composed of deliberate and emergent actions usually take place. These strategic processes, as they contain emergent actions, occur in the same context as emergent strategic processes, that is, in companies immersed in turbulent or dynamic environments, since said emergent actions normally arise from the occurrence of unexpected events to which the company's top managers respond. Regarding the appearance in these processes of the different types of emergent actions, top-down, bottom-up, and of a democratic type, the same applies as we saw earlier in the emergent strategic processes.